I'm joined now by Colin Reed, Senior Vice President of Definers Public Affairs and a Boston Herald columnist, as well as Michael Meehan, President and CEO of Squared Communications, both from Massachusetts, and I'm glad to have you here today. Colin, you worked on opposition research during the Scott Brown race up there in Massachusetts. You know a lot about the state. You know a lot about Elizabeth Warren. Do you think she's planning to run for president?
Well, Dana, I found her answer yesterday very Clinton-esque. She gave herself a nice little wiggle room by saying she's not currently running for president in the current tense, certainly leaving the room down the road to do it if she wanted to. But look, I think it's pretty clear that she has a hometown problem on her hand if she decides to run. First of all, the Berkshire Eagle is a very liberal editorial board, and they are the newspaper of record who called on her to take the DNA test, which to me gets at a bigger point that was never really resolved in the 2012 campaign, which is whether or not Elizabeth Warren got an unfair professional advantage by claiming minority status she wasn't entitled to. But the other thing that's kind of slipped from people's radar a bit is at the same time that all this Elizabeth Warren noise is going on, the former Democratic governor of Massachusetts, Deval Patrick, is also making noise about a potential White House run. So if Warren is thinking of running for the White House, she's already got Bernie Sanders up there, who's by all intents and purposes running for president. And then if Deval Patrick also gets in the race, that's a pretty crowded field, and her lane to the White House might not be so open anymore. And Michael,
Elizabeth Warren actually has a lower approval rating than the Republican governor of Massachusetts right now. And yet, she says she's not running in 2020, that she's going to focus on 2018. But just last week, she announced she was going to give $5,000 to every state of the union that has, for their Democratic Party efforts. So why would you do that if you're not thinking about running for president?
Well, she clearly, I take her at her word, she's not running for president. But people in Massachusetts have been running for politics since we dumped the British tea into the harbor there. So clearly, and there hasn't been an election cycle since all of us have been alive that a Massachusetts somebody, whether it's Governor Romney or whether it's Ted Kennedy or John Kennedy, hasn't been on the ballot. So she's one of the most popular figures on the left in our party. She's got $14 million in the bank. So the fact that she wants to spend $250,000 helping state parties out, it's good for her. Everyone will accept that. I take her at her word. She's not going to run for president. Why would you want that job? You could be U.S. Senator for the rest of your life.
Well, there's going to be probably 20 Democrats that are going to go for that, so we'll find out who really wants the job. In the meantime, there's other news. The president today, and just last night, releasing some basic details for dealing with gun safety. His Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, had this to say.
Everything is on the table, and part of the job of this commission will be to study that and see if that is advanced ultimately as a recommendation in next steps. The point being, there are many steps to be taken now and additional steps that will be taken down the road as we do the work of the commission.
Colin, while it's important to try to separate politics from policy here, because I think all of us want safer schools, it is almost impossible to actually separate them, especially when things are so highly charged. With this proposal by the president of not doing the increasing of the age limit, it seems to me that he may have heard from enough people around the country who said, that's just not going to fly in our states. Let's try to look at other issues. How do you think this plays for 2018?
Well, I don't know how it'll play for 2018, but I do think it's a good thing we're at least having the conversation. In the past, these school shootings have happened. It's been terrible, tragic, and then all of a sudden the issue kind of fades from the headlines. And now I think with these kids being out there making the issue clear and saying they're not going to let it go, I think it's good that the conversation is at least moving forward, and we'll see where it goes.
Michael, I saw, I don't know if my team will have it. I had it for the last block but ran out of time. Quinnipiac has a new poll out asking, do you support or oppose requiring individuals to be 21 years of age or older in order to purchase a gun? And 78% of people said that they did support that, while in the same poll, 58% of people oppose allowing teachers and school officials to carry guns on school grounds. So as this conversation goes forward, do you think the Democrats will remain unsatisfied in terms of the pace of progress?
Well, if you're going to be 21 years old to get a bud, you should be 21 years old to get an AR-15. That's a very simple thing. And I give credit to the Florida legislators who actually went against some very powerful interests there to make some of these incremental gains. Arming school teachers, yeah, if you're a retired military veteran and you know how to handle a gun and then you go in and teach in a classroom, I'm all for you having a gun at school. I'm not for the average 23-year-old who's going in there teaching my elementary school kids to then become experts in handling guns. That's a very different issue.
Actually, I think that you and the president might agree on that. So hey, we have lots of agreement. We have Massachusetts. We have all sorts of things. I think you probably both support Tom Brady, too.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd love to have you back again. Colin Reed and Michael Meehan, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dana.